Hello, and welcome to today's webinar, Translating IEPs with Accuracy and Efficiency, a Smarter Workload for Education Teams. I'm Candace Chapman, Head of Marketing. Thank you so much for joining us today. I think you'll be glad you did, and you'll come away with key strategies to help you tackle even the most frustrating IEPs with confidence. We'll be guided by our product expert, Florencia Russo, but you may know her as Flor. She's our amazing customer success manager here at Pairaphrase, and IEPs are one of the trickiest documents to translate. I just have a few notes before we get right into it. You can ask questions at any time by submitting them in the question box on the right, and we'll answer as many of them as we can after the presentation. We'll be recording the session and we'll send you a link to the video via email in case you missed anything or would like to pass the info along to your team. And that's really it, but I really want to introduce Flor. Most of you may know her, but may not know much about her background. She's a certified Spanish-English translator, graduated from the National University of La Plata, Argentina. She specializes in technical translation for the automotive, oil and gas, and technology sectors. A self-proclaimed tech enthusiast, her passion for technology began at age 15. Using a Compaq Desk Pro 386 computer and basic programming, she created her very first computer-assisted dictionary, combining her love of language and innovation. Since 2017, Flor has delivered courses and workshops on digital tools for translators, sharing practical insights with local and international audiences. She served 3 years as president and is currently vice president of the board of the Association of Certified Translators of La Plata, where she also teaches a full course on technology and AI for translators, which promotes her effective integration of digital resources into translation workflows. Her work bridges language and technology, helping translators enhance both efficiency and quality through the smart use of digital tools. And I am so happy to welcome Flor. Flor, are you there?
Oh, yes, I am. Thank you, Candace.
Take it away.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. And hi, everybody. It's a pleasure for me to be here again. Today, we are gonna learn a little more about how to deal with IEPs in the Pairaphrase environment to get the best results possible. So let me share my screen with you first, and let's start right away. So, as Candace already said, we know that IEPs are tricky documents because we generally deal with complex PDFs with several internal characteristics. So the ideal way to deal with them is to have a reliable workflow to get fast, accurate, and parent-ready IEP translations. And this is how Pairaphrase can help us get this. Why IEP translation needs a special workflow? Because we are dealing with documents that are a little more complex than standard Word or PDF files, because they usually have tables, form-like sections, labels, signatures, and many other internal characteristics. And all those features make it hard to export a good result. And sometimes you can see what looks like a normal PDF on screen, a file that apparently has everything in place, but that in fact may contain nested layout and difficult features that make it hard for the CAT tool, or in this case Pairaphrase, to deal with them. So to be successful in translating these types of files, it is preferable to have a good workflow to get fidelity, editability, and content quality so as to communicate accurately with the families. So, to start with, it is important to know that we are dealing with specific files, so we have to pay attention to the file path more than to the language pair. If we are lucky enough to have the original Word file at hand, it is always preferable to work with it. On the other hand, if we have digital PDF, those are also good candidates for conversion if the text is selectable and the file is not scanned. However, we know that in the real scenario, we usually have scanned or form-like PDFs in which the OCR may work pretty well, but usually names, dates, numbers, and other characteristics will need extra review. In Pairaphrase, we have two ways to convert PDFs to get good results. Both are useful, both are good, but the right choice will depend on the structure of the IEP in this case. One of the options is retain flowing text, which is best when we deal with text-based PDFs created from Word, Google Docs, InDesign, for instance, and it is good to choose this option when we want a cleaner text flow, an easy way to edit the final translation in Word, and a more natural reformatting. However, we may also have more complex or form-heavy PDFs generated by specific systems or that are visually structured, and in which case it will be preferable to choose retain page layout mode. So when we use this mode, we will probably get a closer visual similarity to the original and a stronger table preservation, and we will also have a better handling of fixed position blocks. And I will show you an example of this. If you have a look at this IEP, as I told you, it looks pretty normal. But when I try to select the text, you can see that it is form-like. I cannot select the full text all at once. It is really hard. And that means that when we process this file through any software to translate it, we will get some difficulties at the moment of segmentation and final layout result. So, as I told you, we can go to Pairaphrase, user profile, and change the PDF conversion settings to test which setting is the best for that specific IP or PDF. As I told you, we have retain flowing text and retain page layout as options. Remember that every time you change your settings, you have to go down and click Save for the settings to be used by Pairaphrase. Do not forget to do that. Once you have selected your settings, you go to Translate and proceed with the translation as usual. I will show you an example of how to compare the results of both tests, translation with retain flowing text on the left, translation with retain page layout on the right, so you can see how this choice impact in the facility or the easiness of editing of the final document. If I go to the left to the retain flowing text translated document, I can simply select the whole text and make any necessary changes all at once. For instance, reducing the font size or increasing the font size. And this, in general, helps a lot to improve the visual layout of the document. If we go to the retain page layout version, we will see that although I can select the whole document, it does not allow me to reduce or increase the font size all at once. The reason is that every single piece of text is contained in a block. So, to modify, for instance, words or the size of the fonts of certain text, you will have to go block by block. So again, if you're focusing on the text, the flowing text of your PDF, choose retain flowing text. If you're focusing on the visual impact or the visual layout of your document, choose retain page layout. Always test both and run version A, run version B, and compare the results. That way you will be able to see if tables are maintained, if headings are aligned, if anything was missing or duplicated, etc. Do not worry about doing these tests again and again, because you will not run out of words, because we contemplate these situations. This is a reality we usually face when dealing with IEPs. It is that they are usually exported from specific softwares that sometimes cause the structure of the final document to be a little messy, because we have nested tables, fixed position sections, repeated headings, blocks, and many other features that really make the export of the final translation quite difficult. So in those cases, again, I suggest trying both conversion settings to see which one applies better to your specific document. In case you face issues that we usually face when dealing with software, with technology, there are some troubleshooting fixes or some troubleshooting advice I can give you to better deal with those problems. Sometimes you may get an error from Word when trying to open the translated file. So the suggestions here are: try to, again, translate the document using a different setting. If possible, go back to the original editable file, or even try to open the doc file in repair mode. If one, as I said, if one conversion pass has issues, try a different one. Another issue we may face is that OTL languages may display incorrectly. So the translation, the content may be correct, but visually it does not look as an RTL language document. In those cases, you will have to check that, and you can easily modify that by simply selecting the whole text and changing the alignment. As you can see, with just 2 clicks, selecting the whole text and clicking on alignment change, I improved the visualization of my document, in this case, translated into Arabic. Something else that may happen is that some text may be missing, repeated, or oddly split, all of that due to the structure of the original document. So it is always important to check headers, breaks, labels, etc., page by page, to avoid those errors to be transmitted or given to the final document. Remember that we are working with AI, with technology, and a human eye, a human participation is always necessary to get a perfect or an almost perfect final result. This is a list of some tips I like to give you to edit rapidly, in a fast way, the final Word document. One of them, as I showed you, is reducing the font size, where text expansion creates crowding, or maybe you had 3 pages and now you have 5. Maybe just by reducing the font size, you get back to the 3 pages. So it's really a good tip to follow. We may need to adjust row height, column width, remove hard returns, and some other activities we can perform in really a few seconds or a few minutes to improve the final results. And remember to export to PDF only after the final visual review. Something very, very interesting I wanted to show you today is this new feature Pairaphrase has introduced some time ago, which has to do with using the AI sandbox, which you may probably know already, to translate IEPs. We are going to use this workflow when content quality matters more than exact source layout. We know that what is important in the translation of an IEP is for sure the content, because we want to give that information to parents and to all the actors involved in an IEP. So sometimes maintaining the exact layout is not as important as content quality. Since the sandbox works directly with an LLM, in this case, we're going to work with GPT 4.5, this the translated content will be really good because it will use context and it will use any reference material you can give it, and it will use your exact instructions. And it will use your instructions in the form of a prompt. So whenever you have IEPs with narrative-heavy sections, parent-facing language, specific district terminology, and things that you can ask the LLM to respect, to keep, I suggest you test the AI sandbox for IEP translation. As I told you, the best way to obtain good results is to give the right prompt, that is instruction, to the LLM. A good prompt should always have certain ingredients, let's say, such as telling the model which role it will be occupying, giving it the terminology I want, specifying the exact language and formatting I want, and giving it as many instructions as possible for it to understand clearly what you need. The same way you would do with a personal assistant if you had one. So this is a sample prompt I created to show you how the system will understand better what you need. But good news for you is that Pairaphrase has already incorporated this pre-made prompt in the sandbox. So you just need to click on the button Translate an IEP and then only add any necessary information for it to give you a good result. When you click there, you will see that the chatbot starts chatting. Yeah, it starts a conversation with you. So you will be able to give it as many instructions as necessary. Source language, target language. You will upload your document, of course, and you will ask it to translate either the full content, partial content, to add required terminology, and to ask it to give you the best doc file possible. When you do that, I want to show you an example of what you will get. You will see that the system provides the IEP doc ready for you to download. This is exactly the one I showed you before in Arabic. So this is the result of the translation of this IEP into Arabic in the sandbox. As you can see, the content is readable, is really easy to follow. And I also wanted to show you the same IEP translated in the sandbox into Spanish. Again, while visually it is different, it is not the same, you can see that the content is really readable. It is easy to be followed. And that is really important when you want to communicate this to parents. So my suggestion is that you test the sandbox as much as possible with different documents, providing it with reference material, asking it different things, try to interact with it as if it was a friend or an assistant so as to get the best results possible. You can give it any instruction you want, such as use parent-friendly language, keep legal terms, etc. The idea is to interact, to have a conversation. Yeah? And remember that since this is an LLM, this is AI, it will learn with you. But something very, very important to remember, everything will be kept private. You will not be feeding the system, that is OpenAI or ChatGPT in this case, with your information. That is very, very important for you to remember. So, in summary, this is the recommended workflow. We have two paths that are equally reliable depending on what you need. On the one side, we have PDF file translation, the traditional, let's say, path, where layout matters most, and you will follow the usual path to translate your document, but also testing both PDF conversion settings, retain page layout and retain flowing text. On the other hand, we have the AI sandbox, which you can use when content quality matters most. So in this case, you will see that if you compare the content of the original and the translation, you will see that although visually they look different, the content is translated pretty well. So, of course, choose the workflow that fits the document, your needs, the communication purposes, etc. And again, try again and again so as to reduce manual work in the end. If you need any help choosing the best workflow for your IEP documents, just contact us for further information. We can always have a short call. We can deal with some examples, etc., for you to achieve the best results possible using Pairaphrase. So now, if you have any questions, I am available to answer them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Flor. Why don't you join us back with your camera? And thank you so much for the excellent presentation. I know that you and the development team have been working really hard to make IEP translation as easy as it can be, because it is a real bear. The new sandbox translation function is awesome. And for our guests, we are always listening and improving Pairaphrase, so please do share your feedback with us. So let's get to some questions. First question, can I use reference material in the AI sandbox, such as glossaries?
Yes, you can. You can upload any reference material you need. So the LLM will learn from that material and apply any instructions to your translation.
Awesome. And someone else wanted to make sure they didn't miss any notifications about workshops, seminars, trainings like this. And I'll answer that. Just make sure that you stay subscribed to email from us. And because we share our upcoming events via email and our social channels, so we would love for you to follow us there. And we also welcome your ideas for new topics. So just email Flor if you have something that you would like us to focus on to make sure that you get the most out of Pairaphrase. Another question, you said always test both PDF options. If all of my IEPs are the same type, do I have to test every time, or can I trust that the version that I like will work?
Yes, absolutely. If you have similar documents and you're sure that the documents have a similar structure, internal structure, of course, you can, once you test it both, you choose the best one and go for it. Yes, absolutely.
Once you have a favorite, you can cut down that extra work. Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And I hope that you've all benefited from our time together. Please know we're always available to help you make the most of Pairaphrase. You can send any additional questions to Flor R at pairaphrase.com. She'll get back to you because she's an amazing human. And visit our resources page at pairaphrase.com/resources. Follow us on your social medias to get the latest news and information. And again, let us know if you have an idea for a new session. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you.